Okay, guys. So while we take a look at the risk disclaimer, welcome to the Day Traders versus Midweek Review for Wednesday, February the 11th, 2026. Interesting day. I took my first loss in February, which it was due, but it was manageable, nothing crazy. Nothing too big, overall, still up on the week, still up on the month. So I am not complaining at all. So we'll go ahead and get this going. Let's switch screens here and get this closed out. We'll first start by I guess I'll go over my trade on let me close that out real quick. I'll go over the trade first. Give me a sec. I know that this computer is about to crap out.
But it's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, this is going to crap out soon. I'm just waiting on it um to see. I just hope I can last until my computer gets here, my new one gets here. But let's go over this trade I took first. So, um let's start with VIX because that's led, my hypotheses for the most part. Going into VIX pre-market, mm, I we had the London high at the time. That was the high a day. We had the London low. That was the low a day. We also had this fair value gap to the downside. We had an order block that was here on the 5-minute chart. We had the daily and the weekly pretty much overlapping almost. We had this swing low. We had a bullish fair value gap. We had equal lows here, and then we had previous low here. Above that, we were inside of a 4-hour fair value gap where the low was 1809. The lower quadrant was 1856. We had the gap for Monday, the market open gap at 9:30 on Monday. We had a equal high. Well, we had a swing high here at 1897. And then we had the weekly high. And then we had the midpoint of the fair value gap. So we had a lot of stuff that was going on, right? And that was part of the logic behind taking the setup for the buy on ES. So going into the market open, 9:30, sorry, 8:30, when we had our news release, we got positive news. The news gap to the downside, and we took the liquidity from the low we made in London. We took the swing high from yesterday. We took the previous day low on both, and this actually was the weekly low at the time. We took all of that out, right? Then when we finally got the setup for the entry, right, which is what I took, I based the entry off of, us making this low at 1675. We traded through this fair value gap. The logic was that we would hold underneath the fair value gap or somewhere inside of here as it inverted and then trade lower to take out the 1675 low. Or we would push just above it. We had an order block on like the 1-minute chart, 30-second chart, and we had started to get rejection from it. I and I was okay to take the rejection up here. So this was the rejection I used to enter the trade for the buy. So this sell off at the time from the low to where we are here was putting us inside of a fair value gap that's not drawn here, but there's one here. And then it's also putting us inside of the fair value gap on ES. So at this point, we are roughly at the fair value gap low on ES. I got in because we had made a high, a higher high. I preemptively got in, expecting us to make a lower low on the next candle. And instead, we took out the high, we traded through the news gap, and then we pushed even higher. So I took a L on that. And overall, the setup looked good at the time, but if I had waited for my confirmation on this, I probably would not have gotten into the trade in the first place because we did get our low, which was here. This lines up with that same time frame. And then we got a lower low, but we didn't get the low, the higher low on this for us to set up for the entry. And it immediately went stop loss. This was a 12-point stop loss with a 10 micro contract. So across a couple of accounts, I took this in one of my 300K Tradeovate accounts. I lost 622 in that account. That balance was around 5,400. It brought me down to 4,800. And then I took it in the Tradeovate Apex accounts. Those the balances on those range. But for the most part, I took a $795 loss on that, which is still below, um, which was still a okay size loss. Usually I'm going 2 to 1 anyway, so I took the loss. I took it with 20 contracts on that. Um, and those 20 contracts end up giving me, a total of about $3,000 loss in all of the accounts total, bringing my balance down to 17,000 on three of the accounts and right around 5,400, 50, I'm sorry, 15,900 on another account. So I'm still within 75% of being complete. This is just one of those things where those last couple thousand that you need, they are always tough sometimes when you're working on a combine or you working on getting the payouts. Sometimes those last couple thousands are always a tough task to do sometimes because you're almost there. You're just you can smell the end of the road and you can see the end of the road and it's just like, dang it, man. You really want to almost YOLO it sometimes, but you have to control yourself so that you don't make those mistakes. So, um, and that's kind of where I am right now, just trying to monitor and make sure that I'm just taking the same approach that I did to get to this plateau so far and make sure that I continue to do everything that helped me get to where I am so that I can go ahead and finish up taking taking these combines counts, right? So no trade in the PA account, the 150K account. That one's about 4,000 away from getting the payout. And that one I'll be pushing that one the rest of the week so I can push towards getting the payout on that. And then, we'll have to kind of play the rest by ear. I haven't started the other 300K accounts that are complete. I'm just working on getting the other ones finished. So today we had news, we had the NFP numbers, we had average hourly earnings, and we had unemployment rate today. They all beat by a lot actually on the non-farm payroll and surprise beat on the unemployment and um, average hourly earnings. So that was a lot of the reasons why I was looking for buys. Plus, the structure was giving me buy as we had a change of character on on with the move up higher on the news. So Thursday we got Thursday, tomorrow, 8:30, we'll have news, unemployment claims. And then on Friday, we have CPI, core CPI, month over month and year over year. So that'll still give us some good setups. And then just an FYI, I won't go into next week too much, but we do have a bank holiday on Monday. So Monday, will if the market is open, I'm not 100% sure. I believe it is closed, but if you do take any trades, it'll probably close around 12. So keep that in mind when you're trading on Monday. I will make sure that I reiterate this on Sunday when we do our call on Sunday. So just keep that in mind. So we'll have a short week on next week. So now we can go ahead and just get into the charts. Oh, earnings. Let's check to see what else we got as far as earnings go. Earnings, what does that look like? Let's see if we can get this to open up. Okay, so earnings, we still got Coinbase, Pinterest. Those are probably the most familiar names on here. DraftKings, um, Rivian. I think that's the electric car company. So we got a couple PG&E. Then we on Friday we got Moderna. Today we had Cisco, McDonald's, Fastly, Humana, Unity, Shopify. I'll have to go back and check those to see how they did. Um, but no huge names coming up for the rest of the week. So I think we're in the clear as far as earnings. Mostly we'll just be looking out for any breaking news on as far as the news goes for the rest of the week. And then we had our economic news for for 8:30 news hours. So let's go ahead and start with dollar. Dollar has been falling off a ledge. This week we're well below the weekly opening price. Well below the weekly opening price. Um, and we are trending in a little small range right now. We expanded the range. So looking at where we closed out, we're still inside of this is a inverted fair value gap from the daily. And I think we'll still kind of stay inside of this range. So on our 0 to 1, like this wick down here, which is acting as a swing low right now, for us to at least come down to this range. Can extend this out to Friday. And this wick is our first swing low on the downside that we need to watch out for. We got low a day from today. This is our, what is the low a day here? 94, 96, 494. Is that the same? Yeah, this is our lower day for the day. We pretty much got equal lows. This is also the low for the week. So with that being said, the rest of the week, this low will be the first low to come in mind. If we try to continue lower, there is, you can see on the screen on the other side, just to the left, there is a new week opening gap. a new day opening gap that's sitting like right near, just below our inverted fair value gap. So that's one I'm going to be looking at. And as far as us returning into that, if we go lower, um, this is it's our current weekly low. This gap right here will be the next downside target. If we can get any lower, and us trading below this wick will put us near the low of the inverted fair value gap. Let me extend that out. 347. And if we continue to go lower, we trade down into the new day opening gap where we can see it come down at least to the midpoint, roughly around the midpoint. And maybe we see some buying from the new day opening gap somewhere along the inside of that. As far as upside goes, you can see we have a swing high near the monthly opening price that we rejected. This is our previous day high. We're taking lows out, so you'll assume that we'd either range or we flip along these lines. To go higher. I'm sorry, to go lower. And then from an upside perspective, for our 0 to 1 move, there's a minor little high inside of here, which is right here, right at the top of the inverted fair value gap. I'm going to add that, but only because it's in line. That's like a lower time frame high that I would probably look at us to consider from a lower time frame perspective. So this would be a short-term target from a like 5-minute chart or 15 or 30-minute chart that I would see we possibly take out. That's where I'm looking for our 0 to 1 move to take us to. Then if we get to 0 to 1, we retrace on the 1 to 2, right around that high of the inverted fair value gap. And then for the 2-3 move, puts us back at the low of this daily fair value gap. And if we can push up and hold, we get higher for the take out the previous day high, and our 5 puts us around the lower quadrant of that daily fair value gap. And then at that point, maybe we look for rejections again at the 4, at the 3, or the 5. I like the 3 or the 5 as the rejection. We can go ahead and clear this out. We took this. We don't need this for the rest of the week. And we took this low. We don't need this for the rest of the week. We got new lows. So overall, this is what I'm looking for on the dollar. So that means if we're looking for, I'm looking more so for downside, and if we do get some downside moves, that does give gold room to push up higher. But gold, you'll notice, has been a bit stagnant because even though dollar's been pushing down, gold has just been kind of ranging. So it's been pushing up, but it's been like a choppy move up, right? It hasn't been like a smooth move, right? So we've been dealing with just kind of uh, a decision point of where and how gold is going to trade for the rest of the week and the rest of the month and going into February. It's been a little ugly. I'll be honest. You'll notice it on the chart. So no trades in gold for a while for me. I haven't dabbled in gold in quite a bit, which is usually I'm gonna get it in at least one or two gold trades in a month, but nothing lately at all, and nothing at all this year. So our opening price for the month, I mean for the week, is here. I don't even think we need to make any changes to this because this is still just inside of the range. We've been sideways this whole week, man. And I don't even see a need to make any adjustments to this other than, hey, we took the weekly high. We took this high from last week. But you can see we still pretty much are around that high. So, maybe we add we can say we took last week's high. Let's just go ahead and say that. We took out the previous day high, but we've just chopped sideways. This is our weekly high now.
Like now this is relative high, right?
Yeah, this is nothing to write home about. On gold really in my based off how I know we trade and how most people would probably be leaving gold alone right now, at least for this week. Because even with the news, we didn't get any moves based on gold trending. So um,
Yeah.
nothing, nothing to talk about. I'm just gonna make that one change on gold, and that's how we're gonna leave it. Because it's still within the confines of the move that we had from Sunday. So no change on gold. I mean, this is our weekly high. Our weekly low is looks like it's here. And we're still pretty much sitting just above or right around the opening. Now on the lower time frame, I do see a couple setups that look clean on the lower time frame, but I it's not worth the hassle, it seems, to be in gold right now, knowing that we can take some other trades that are much more lucrative than playing around in gold right now. So just sent out gold since just sent out the gold chart, and just gonna open this in another tab for myself for later. So when I do my journaling, I can have this open for myself. All right. VIX. VIX took both sides of liquidity. VIX took we were really kind of sideways yesterday. Our high was here, our low was here, and we took both sides of liquidity on VIX, and that pretty much explained our whole move today. So as far as the VIX goes, this is our low from today. So this makes it our previous day low. I'm gonna go ahead and extend it out to let's just go to tomorrow. Let's do Friday. Because one of these are in place. Either the low is in place or the high is in place for the week. I'm pretty sure on that. So that's our low for the week so far. Let's change this. This is our weekly low. We ended the day Not with the swing high, but I like this little area right here. So we'll keep this little swing. Not quite a swing high. Yeah, not quite a swing high on the 1 hour. Let's check that. What does that look like on the 30 minute? Yeah, 15 minute. Probably looks better on the, not even on the 15 minute. What does it look like on the five? Okay, on the 5 minute, we have a swing high. But let's say this is our liquidity, lower time frame liquidity that we need to consider. These little lower highs within this range. Let's consider this on a lower time frame. Here going into tomorrow, how do we respond to that? We'll want to pay attention to how we respond to this little range right here on VIX. So this is the pool of liquidity that I want us to watch. And then we have a little lower time frame swing low. So there's here, and we'll watch for this lower time frame liquidity from above, and this little swing low that you can see on the 1 hour and on the 5 minute. As you can see, this little swing. And now let's go back to the 1 hour. And then we got our high for the week, which we made today on that crazy move up and down, right back down. I'm sorry, this is not the high of the day. This is not the high of the week. This is just today's high. We made the high of the week on Monday. So this was our high for the day. And then our high of week was on Monday. And that's what we want to look out for on this high right here. On the upside, so far, this is our high right here. If we push up, we know we coming after this. So from a setup perspective, we can get rid of this guy. We don't need him. We got this little fair value gap right here that has been inverted, but we can still look at this as bearish because we're still inside. And then we have this inverted daily fair value gap that's kind of still hanging around. Right? Um, and then we have a larger 4 hour one here that's still hanging around as well. And we're sitting just below it. There's a little small fair value gap that's over here that we bounced off of. I think if we do sell off, we're still coming after these lows right here, this previous week low. So for a downside setup, we sweep the low we made here. We get a response from this fair value gap. And if we continue to take this market lower, we bounce off of this, we should push back up in the range. And if we fail near this swing low, that sets us up to go even lower to take out the low we made here and then aim for previous week low. We may get a bounce around this low because there's a lot of liquidity near this previous week low. But if we can't push up higher, I see us pushing down to the yearly opening price, which is down here near our 5. That makes sense for the downside.
Yeah.
If we do get a bounce, I think it happens at the 1 or the 3. I'll just say higher probability is the 3, but I would like for it if we do the 1 because we got this fair value gap right here, little small one. The 3 is after we sweep liquidity. So that's the logic behind why those two are most high probability. But that's what I would be looking for on that. Then for the upside, us trading back into this inverted fair value gap and holding inside of it gives the catalyst for this to go higher. Us coming inside of this and holding near the low 1827 and 1809, I think that gives us the strength we need to push higher. And then I don't see that the 0 to 1 takes us immediately higher. But I do think that the 1 to 2 move holds us up around the weekly, and then we trend higher. The 2-3 move takes us to the middle of that gap, and then the 4-3-4 pushes us back down into this particular candle. This is an order block right now. And once we get above it, I can see us using that order block to take us higher. Then the 4-5 move will likely use trade up to the monthly opening. And you can see that's the high of the 4-hour fair value gap. And I would be looking for rejection around the 3 or the 5 to if this was to sell off. Around the 3 or the 5 are the most probable areas. The 1 should either take us above this previous day high. We could see some rejection at the 1, but I think we would take these highs out before we saw some rejection on this. That makes sense?
Yes.
Cool, cool, cool. All right.
Mm-hmm.
That is the VIX. What's up, Raji? What's up, Trees? Hey, hey.
What's going on, cuz? How y'all doing?
Good, good, good. All right, let's open it. So I just dropped the VIX. Let's go to Dow. Let's go to Dow. Who is calling me? Dude, you know I'm on this call. Hang on. Okay, so now we going to Dow. Dow had a crazy swing today. Again, we had the positive news. We had the weird response. We had our previous day low hold in. This low got taken out on the move down. We did take out the high. And we ended up mainly trading inside of that bullish fair value gap for most of the day. And then we broke out of the range we were in after the news was released. And then we just swept this low. We didn't take out this new all-time high, but we end up taking out the previous day low. So we kind of still we're kind of sideways on Dow for the most part. But so far this week, we have traded up the 0 to 1 move. We got a 2-3, but we failed the 2 to 3. And we didn't get our 3-4 because we did get a 3-4, but we just failed and kind of went sideways. So honestly, Dow hasn't done a lot either. We just kind of been sideways, but we can still account for the move that we had so far. So this is our all-time high now. Really been a little sideways on Dow. Dow hasn't given us the same kind of response that NASDAQ and ES has given us. And that's okay because Dow had a big move on Friday and Monday. No, I'm sorry, Friday. Yeah, Friday. So we're okay with taking a cooling off a little bit on this pair. This is our weekly low now. And this is our all-time high, and it's our current weekly high. We took out yesterday's low. We took out this swing low. And we have inverted this 1 hour fair value gap. So now it's neutral. It could go either direction. Still leaning towards bullish for the moment because we closed back inside of it. So we'll kind of have to monitor that. But we do have a small little fair value gap to the downside inside of here. Right around here. I'm not going to draw it, but just know we got it there. So it's lining up with our upper quadrant. So keep that in mind if you see price failing around this 5360 area. That's probably why we got fair value gap and we got the upper quadrant. So keep an eye on that. And then we got this order block right here that's still in play. We traded just a little above it, but we still got it there. And you can also use this as an order block too. So if we can't get above this candle, you can also see that as a failure as well. But I'm just going to leave this one here. Not going to extend it out because I want to keep the charts a little clean. If we do try to sell off this low from today and our weekly low will be our targets. We're inside of a huge 4-hour fair value gap. And we've been hovering around the high so far this week, right? So that's kind of where we stalled out, right? So we're really just playing around the top of this fair value gap. From a downside perspective, we got a lot of room we could drop into because we left a lot of imbalances on that move on Friday from the downside. On the downside, so we can still be pushing up, pushing down a lot lower. From an upside target, right? If we do decide that we're going to go ahead and push up, we're going to need to use this range of the inverted fair value gap. So we're going to need to see price hold likely this little order block right here near the low should hold us up. And then we should probably get an order block near the midpoint or the high that should take us higher. And then this 0 to 1 move to the upside should get us outside of this fair value gap range. The 1-2 retracement should hold us at either an order block that we make here or one we make at the high. And then the 2-3 move should take us above this short-term high and then eventually above our all-time high. And then the 3-4 should respond to this series of down candles right here, where we could have the swing pushes as low as this order block level. And then our 4-5 move should push us to up to around 5,800 or 5,000. I'm sorry, 50,800 down. I'm sorry. It should push us to the 50,750 area up to the 50,800 area as a main target. And I really don't see a lot of rejection until we get around or at or above the all-time high. From a downside perspective, we got a lot of room. Got a lot of room to the downside, right? This is tough, man. Got to get this new computer. Got to. Can't do this no longer. This is so crazy. Oh my God. And I can't just go in the store and get it because I want to get certain specs on it. So I'm gonna have to wait for the new one to come. So, all right. So from a downside perspective, I can see the 0 to 1 taking us below the previous day low and possibly below the weekly, but let's say we don't get that swing completely below. We hold near this 4-hour fair value gap high, or 0 to 1. A 1 to 2 takes us back just below. I like this candle holding us down if we get the 1 to 2. And then if we hold from there, we get the sweep at around this area and possibly up into the weekly opening / daily opening, which this 1 to 2 could push up all the way to about here. But I'm going to say that the projection's holding under here. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As long as we see rejection between where we have 50,140 to the weekly opening price, I'm cool with that. If we do reject around there, the 2-3 takes us down below the weekly low and into the upper quadrant of that huge 4-hour fair value gap. From there, we could possibly see a bounce, but if not, if we do see a bounce, we get failure around the 4, which takes us right around this old low that we just had. And then the 4 takes us down, if we don't get a continuation from 3, down into the midpoint of the fair value gap. And highest probability for bounces should come at the 3 or the 5. For the rejection to the upside. So that's what I'll be looking for on Dow. Let me give you this chart. So that's Dow. And just open it up over here for later for myself. And then we can go to NQ. NQ looks pretty much the same. with some little differences. You can see we had this 1 hour fair value gap that we were in, and we chopped around in it above it for a little while. We chopped around in it for a little while, and then we took the low and we took the high, and we basically ended up right back in the middle. So a lot of movement for a lot of nothing to just end up right back in the middle of the weekly range. So our low for the week is here at 24,956. Our high for the week was made today. You can see we made the high at an old new week opening, new day opening gap. Right at the high, right at the new day opening gap, and overlaps with the yearly opening price. So we rejected right around the yearly opening slash a daily opening gap. So that is, again, that's one of those plays that I talk about all the time, that we are usually going to have something happen at these big um price points, like the weekly, the monthly, the daily. There's always going to be something that happens around those areas, right? So this is still in play. It's been inverted, but it's still traded right back in it. So not ready to call it bearish yet, but it has been inverted. We did trade below it, but we ended up closing back in the range. So for me, it still means that it's more bearish than it is bullish. I'm bullish than it is bearish. So from an upside perspective, we have a small swing high. You can see that we made in the afternoon today. We already have a nice swing low to consider. And this is already going into the London Tokyo session here, that we have over here. This is actually the low of the day so far. And this, we'll need to watch to see if this low stays intact. And then we have the low from today, which is all the way down here. This looks like it may hold for now if we don't come down and take this out. And now we pretty much got our range set up. We got our weekly. From an upside perspective, the first area I'm looking at is this swing high. If we take out this swing high, I'm going to be looking at us to trade back into that daily that new day opening gap. And the 1-2 move to the downside. Maybe we tap back onto the high of this fair value gap. Would be a likely setup for now. And then that puts us back above the yearly. And to take out this previous day high, right around the monthly. And we got another previous day high as well. And then we use this candle and the new day opening gap again to hold us above and near this range. So that would hold us above that range, and we can use that range to go higher. So that's what I'll be looking for with this scenario. And then our 5 likely goes above and into this 4-hour fair value gap from above. And we at least trade to the midpoint, right around the midpoint for the rest of that week. From a downside perspective, I still actually like the downside move. Since we left a lot of, we traded in mostly a range for this week with, not too big of a move outside of the range. So I really kind of only see that we need to make a couple of adjustments, right? This low is still intact over here. So that's really still my downside target for now. And then I still see us coming into this previous day gap as a overall target if we move to the downside. So I still like us coming down into this range. The path for us to get there changes a little bit. We got a little liquidity build up as well. So I'm okay with everything coming down the same way we had it drawn up from Sunday. So not a lot to change on that. So let's just fix a couple things on this move. Still like this liquidity to come down. Won't really look for a bounce until we get down into this area for a huge reversal or a shift in the market. I think we bounce off of this daily. And then as far as the 0 to 1 to the downside, we deal with this daily low. We come to or around the weekly, and maybe we get our 1 to 2 or 0 to 1. Sorry. And we retrace our 0 to 1. Our 0 to 1 retraces after we tap the weekly again and gives us the 1 to 2. And then we start to try to use this bearish fair value gap to go lower. That gets us our 2-3 move to the downside. I do think the 2-3 takes out this low. And inside of the 2-3, we create the fair value gap when we take out those lows. And then our 4-5 is our 3-4 retraces into that fair value gap. And our 4-5 takes us down into and below our weekly low and then into this previous day gap. And that's when I'll be looking for us to take a move back to the upside from there. Make sense?
Yep, yep.
Any rejection on the upside, I'm expecting it to happen after we've challenged the monthly and taken out these highs. So 5 looks like we get a rejection from the upside from here. And here is Dow. It's really, we had a lot of movement today, but overall, we actually are sideways. So NASDAQ is looking, it looks like we did a huge move, but we did, but we really just came right back into the range of the week so far. We expanded our range a bit broad, a bit larger, but overall, we're still right back inside of that 1 hour fair value gap that we've been sitting around most of the week. So, and now finally, we can go to S&P. I went over the trade earlier today that I took on S&P. Gosh, man. So we took out this previous day high. We took out this one. We're trading just above the new week opening gap right now. And we're still inside of this 4 hour fair value gap. And we're sitting around this bullish fair value gap. So we just kind of like in a bunch of ranges right now. And it makes sense. It makes sense for us to do that. We got a lot of overlap from different points of interest. This is our weekly low we made on Monday. We held the low. We bounced off of the monthly today, and we held the monthly. So this just turned us positive for February so far. Whether we stay that way is a good question. The low we made today is just below the monthly. If we get any downside price action, I would definitely be considering these two lows to be taken out. So this is our previous day low now. It's a little hard to go over this when your computer is going 3 miles an hour. Like I can't even tell y'all how crazy this is right now. These lows right here, these are going to be the lows we consider on the immediate move to the downside, right? This is our little lower time frame liquidity pool. So I like us here. They're equal lows. We do have the low of the day for the day so far here, but it's all equal lows. Some minor highs on the upside from these two highs right around the middle of that fair value gap. So I like these little highs and how we respond to those going into the after hours and into the market open should give us a good setup for tomorrow. This is our weekly high so far the high we made today. This is our weekly high. And we'll see on our projections that this will definitely be an upside target. We're just shy of making an all-time high on S&P. So Dow made his all-time high, the last all-time high. So I'm expecting one of the pairs, NASDAQ or S&P, to make an all-time high coming up here pretty soon. with S&P being so close, I would assume that it would be to make the next all-time high. All right. So from a downside perspective, if we trade below the 0 to 1 should be coming, and we should trade back below these first set of lows. And then there's a little there's our new week opening gap right along the low of this 4-hour fair value gap. We could bounce there, but I would rather see it at least try to take these lows, or at least come to the monthly before we start looking for rejection. So I'll say we maybe make an equal low here. And then our 2 retraces back into the fair value gap, or there's a fair value gap to the downside created on that move. And then our 2-3 takes us actually below those lows for the week and near our yearly opening price. And then our 3-4 retracement gives us a bounce at or near the previous day lows, or the monthly itself, at or near the monthly. And then our 4-5 move, I like it to take us to this order block on the 1 hour as a downside target. It could go further, but at least I think we hit that. And then we get a bounce at the 3 or the 5, more than likely, for the move on ES. Then our upside targets. Let's go ahead, and we have our weekly high right now. And then we have our previous week high. We have our previous week high, and we have our all-time high just above us. So, of course, these are going to be our primary targets if we can get a move outside of this range. Jeez, it's crazy. Okay, so 0 to 1, upper quadrant, roughly around 69.94.90, 0.50. We hold near or at the midpoint. There should be an order block right around here, possibly if we do get a 1-2 retracement. Our 2-3 pushes us above the weekly high, or at or above the weekly high. And we may get a pause at or around that high, because that is lining up with the 4-hour fair value gap high, the 4-hour bearish fair value gap high. We should get an order block right around our midpoint, upper quadrant, or we use this candle right here, because these two will be order blocks, will be considered order blocks. So we should get a lower time frame order block right here if we do reject around the midpoint. And then our 3-4 gives us a retracement possibly here to the downside if we fail this high and we want to stay inside of this range, or we get our 4-5 move to the upside. And then I think that puts us at around 77,050 point, 50.00 area. And we could also see rejection to the downside at the 5. So I would like the rejection to happen at the 3 or the 5. to send us back down. Make sense?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Tracking.
Yes, yes.
When I was in the military, and one of the sergeants said tracking, and then everybody would respond with tracking, you know.
Oh, we got to respond with
Okay,
tracking. Okay, tracking.
okay, tracking.
Tracking,
Learning new things.
tracking. All right.
Now,
So,
Corn, can I ask you a question
uh-huh.
on the move today?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Um, so it was interesting because when that push up, I missed it, of course, because it was right away. I think like 8:30 it happened on S&P. And so I was looking for it to come back in at the 8 o'clock fair value gap, and I thought it would continue back up. Would you consider that move
That's the
as a
move that,
possibility?
yeah, that's actually the move I was looking for. I was looking for it to come back inside of the news fair value gap.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was looking for.
This is where I was looking for it to come into. Again, like I told Anna earlier, when we first got, like I was telling everybody when we first got on the call, the 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 news was positive. All of the structure was positive. Um, we broke structure to the upside. We had responded to it. Like we had everything that you would need for this to move up, right? We had positive news. We had structure break. We had a break of structure to the upside. We had a change of character. We had a order block that got inverted to go higher. We took highs, so everything was really there from a news perspective and a structure perspective. Let me tell you, let me read from my my notes today. I'm gonna read exactly what my notes said when I did my journal, and I dropped my notes in the chat GPT because I want you to hear what I got the feedback, right? So
Oh, that's a good idea.
yeah, I don't know.
Never even thought to do that.
Yeah, so what I usually do when I'm taking my notes is I do an audio note, right? I use the audio note and I go over all of everything on my charts and do an audio note. You could take the audio note and copy the transcript, throw it in Chat GPT, and then you ask it, hey, I'm gonna throw in my charts and I'm gonna throw in my audio notes transcript. Can you do a review on my trade? Tell me, do a full review and give me insight. And I even ask it to grade my trade. And I talked to Anna about this not too long ago. I asked it to grade my trade based on a couple of different things, right? And the things that I asked for it to grade my trade on are, risk management, structure, entry execution, target taking. Um, it did something different today. Sometimes it'll jack it up, but let me look at my other one. So it will give me the details, the narrative and bias, right? I get a grade on that, and I grade it from an A to an F, A plus to an F. Structure and levels, entry and timing, risk management, profit taking, and psychology. How did I sound and how did I respond? And then I ask it to give me a final grade, right? So that's all the things that I look for, right? So in this particular case, on today's particular entry and setup, right? It basically said you did the right thing with the VIX, right? You saw all the levels, the highs, and I'm just quickly going through it. You saw the levels, the highs, the lows. You had the fair value gap, the bearish fair value gap, and the 4-hour fair value gap. You had the 5-minute order block, weekly opening, daily opening, liquidity stack below price at the time. Your narrative was sweep the sell side liquidity, trade into the bullish fair value gap, invert the fair value gap, reject the fair value gap, and VIX trade lower. ES trade higher and continuation for the buy, right? The news catalyst, right? The narrative was we had NFP. NFP came out better than expected. Earnings beat on some of the big earnings players. We had a lower unemployment number. The good news equals risk on, VIX down, ES up. That's exactly what happened. You know, if you put those together, let me pull up VIX chart. So this is ES on the left, VIX is in the middle. The VIX is in the middle. ES is on the left. So we had our VIX down, ES up move from here. This was our VIX down. This was our ES up. So we had everything we wanted to, right? And, you know, I was real patient with the trade to look for the entry. But the only thing was, you know, we did have the opening gap for VIX to happen all the way down here. Sign one, right? Sign one that because we got two gaps. We got the news, we got a gap when we on the news release up here. Then we had the gap at 9:30 down here. It was a gap to the downside, and that gap got inverted, right? So that's right along where we made these highs on ES, which again, all of that is reasonable, right? We would expect for us to invert it because if we're going to respond to this bullish fair value gap, we need for VIX to push up into a fair value gap, which was it made one right here. And we had this that could have inverted. So we needed it to push up for us to get the move back into the bullish order block, right? And at this point, you are expecting it to either sell off from here at the low of this fair value gap because it acted like it was going to invert and sell off from here, or worst case scenario, we trade higher, but we respond inside of this move to the downside to sell off, right? And as I mentioned before, this was our first rejection. There's a small order block on a lower time frame, and these two candles that it tried to reject from. If you're waiting on this candle to give you so we got a high, a higher high. The next candle giving you a lower high would have gave you the setup to go into this trade. I jumped in early, anticipating the high, and it blew through the little short term high right here and kept going. Last place that we looking for rejection to the downside, worst case scenario, we come into the gap where the news was triggered and we get a rejection to the downside from here to sell off from here. We don't get that. We just blow straight through it in the trade at that point. So from a technical standpoint, you know, and from a fundamental standpoint, the trade honestly was not a bad setup, you know. The trade was It was a pre-plan. The pre-plan levels was already, all of those were there. The liquidity was mapped out. VIX drove price to the downside as expected. ES pushed up as expected. VIX made a fair value gap as expected. ES made a fair value gap as expected. Define the entry, define the stop, define the targets, all done properly. Size properly. R&R was properly done. The risk reward was properly done. What actually failed, right? The structure was, was done properly, right? The planning was done properly. The risk was done properly. The timing on my particular trade was not. The reaction to the fair value gap was not in line with actual price. And in our case, if we waiting for our confirmations, we don't even consider this trade because it broke out of the confirmations, and it doesn't give us what we need to enter, right? And this is one of those days when even if you have everything planned out right, you have your levels correct, liquidity is swept the way you think it should, the market responds to a levels that you think it should, it still doesn't do what is expected because news puts you in a environment where even if you do everything right, you still can take a L, or you can still lose a trade, It's just about systematizing everything. My system didn't fail, my timing did a little bit, but if given the opportunity and I got most of what I saw, I still would have took that trade. The only thing that said no, don't take the trade was my timing. If I don't have the bad timing, I don't take the trade anyway. And I still would have been okay with how the trade was set up because the trade was set up properly. The timing was off, which led to the loss, but everything else, if I saw it again on any other day, I still would have took the same trade. And on any other day, I probably would have at least went 2-1 or 3-1 on this trade. Don't feel any regrets about taking this trade. I just hate that I didn't time it properly. And if that's all I got to say about the trade, then I don't feel bad about the trade or taking a loss on the trade. In this case, later on after reading the news, it came out that it affected potential Fed rate by beating the job numbers, the unemployment number. That actually affected whether or not we potentially get an interest rate cut or not, because right now they're leaning to no change on interest rate. So that kind of tells you where, hey, we may not get the interest rate cut we want. So with that being said, it doesn't give us a fresh catalyst on the interest rates, right? With it being stalled. So that's pretty much what happened today. Pretty much it. Hope that answered the question. Hope that answered. But anybody got anything else? Anybody got anything?
No, I'm good.
No, thank you, Corey.
So you guys, like I told Anna earlier, we do have a holiday on Monday. So
Mhm.
so since we got the holiday on Monday, no trading until Tuesday. If you do trade, I'm not sure if I'm not sure if the market is completely closed on Monday, but I do know we will have at least a partial closure on Monday. So, keep that in mind. I'll remind you guys again on Sunday. So, don't let me forget. Okay.
Sure.
All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all for jumping on. Y'all my road dogs. I'll see y'all in our group chat tomorrow.
All right. Thanks, Corey. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you, Corey.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Later.